Traditions and customs are national treasure. Kazakh people observe traditions over many centuries. The great steppe is an amulet of the country. You can watch the customs and traditions of the Kazakhs in the Modern Nomads program. Traditions are the main totem pole of any culture. People without traditions, without customs, can barely be called a nation. In this day and age, when globalization is becoming stronger and stronger, the only way to preserve one's identity is to follow the traditions of his forefathers. Today, our program is dedicated to the theme of Betashar. Betashar is the ceremony of opening the face of the bride in front of the relatives. It has also its own upbringing tradition. Owing to this tradition, a great people and noblemen were born. Today's guest is a person of art. He researches the long-forgotten cultural traits and traditions in his free time.
Жалпы келіннің тәрбиесі, келін болудың үлгі жобасы қыз дәуренде. Анау желең астындағы жетіліп жүрген.
The process of bringing up a girl that will become a decent wife and a mother begins as early as at her birth or even earlier. The Kazakhs say, meet the parents of the girl you're going to marry. To give life to successful, worthwhile people, one used to gauge not only the future mother of his children, but carefully examine her family, parents, and the genealogical prowess before making the step towards creating a family. We ourselves are the product of such a fine selection process. The effect of upbringing lasted way beyond the young age of a girl. That's why so much attention is paid to her behavior in singlehood. I don't believe in the bride turning bad in the marriage. All of it is visible, long before the proposal and the wedding. A person with a strong core, straight vision of her life values and integrity ought to be a good bride and a wife. The cases when a good bride has ruled the whole clan are not unheard of. These outstanding women were deservingly called the powerful word, Baybishe. Who do you think took care of us? Who brought up the whole nation? Who sent of soldiers to the warfare, waited, mourned, and prayed over them? Those were our devoted mothers who were young girls turned brides. We can't deny the strong connection between a woman's early years and her maturity as a mother. Which naturally brings us to the following question. So what should we strive to preserve? This priceless tradition, in order to raise a nation, a strong, willful, fierce nation.
Осы алтын арқауды сақтауымыз керек. Ел болу үшін, ұлт болу үшін, әлемді аузына қаратқан мемлекетке айналу үшін.
Betashar is a very old tradition. The Soviet propaganda didn't treat it nicely and almost erased it from our memories. In the rural areas, only a few of the major routines were conserved. Fortunately, the tradition is being revived, but the sacred goal behind it is mysterious. Today in our program, we'll try to find out what it was. So what is Betashar? Is it a ritual, a custom, a tradition? And why do we bother to take a new bride through the process? Betashar suggests that we open the bride's face. But why? What for? For that, we need to understand what the difference is between the person with an open face and a closed face. For example, the two zhengiz, the wives of the elder members of the family, are to be open-faced only once. The process of opening the face alone is, there is a whole group of musical compositions called akjelien, only performed on the Betashar. A famous kuishi composer, Kazakh, came up with this very specific genre of kus. So what does the word akjelien mean? There is a word jigit jelien that only applies to men. Jigit meaning a guy. Rightfully, akjelien only applies to women. Akjelien is the name of a piece of clothes that stays in constant contact with the body. So then the female body getting rounder is celebrated in these musical pieces. In general, the wholeness of a human body, its self-sufficiency, is the subject of the genre. There is a special meaning for the word kirik in the context of Betashar. Outside it, the word means 40. The modern-day Kazakhs went astray and don't follow this small custom anymore. Back in the days, it was very important despite the fact that not everybody did it. Mainly rich people could afford to have it. Only the affluent could follow all the traditions. Bitashar is held for a new-coming bride only. Usually conducted in her future home, every attribute was made only for her. The numerous relatives of the girl's future husband's family come to witness and greet the new member. From the oldest to the youngest, men, women, and children participate in this event. There, the new-coming bride meets all of her future relatives. The tradition to cover her face carries a special meaning here. In the tradition Kazakh society, Betashar is a compulsive tradition to follow. Only after the Betashar is over can a bride be considered a part of the new family. The musical composition performed at the Betashar all instill respect towards her new family, womanly wisdom, and provide advice for her married life. Performed by the groom's younger male siblings on the dombra, these songs represent a good wish. First of all, the bride is to pay homage to the direct family. Then, from the eldest grandfathers and the revered grandmothers to the youngest kids, she greets everybody with a lasting bow.
Халқым менің мықты болсын мерекең алтын келін. Жырлайық дәстүрін қазағымның, бет ашар деген ежелгі салтың сенің. Қуанышқа кенеліп атырамын, көкірегімде күй қозғап жатыр әнім. Алағайын ендеше қолыңды соқ, келін жанды ортаға шақырамын.
Ол келіннің екі жағына бала туған, күйеуге тиген, бақытты адам болып есептелетін екі жеңгесі тұру керек.
A festive shawl is thrown on the bride. Two successfully married female relatives with many children are put next to her. The person who will open the face is picked very carefully. Let's look at who is allowed to do that. These days, the face is opened with a synthesizer. Just about anybody can do that now too. Back in the days, only the honored representatives of the clan were allowed to do that. More so, it had to be a talented poet of the clan. The singers, Jiral Shi, Jiri Shi, were not called for Bitashar. Only the poets received the honor. Now, who was the greatest poet of the time? Not the regular Aitskers we see on the stage every other day. The poets of the yonder were spiritually apt and connected with the sources of energy beyond this reality. Later, this tradition died down. The powerful poets could make the bride bow with the power of his words alone, bow in front of the whole clan, and be appreciated with money.
Өсиет айту арқылы келінді иілдірді. Ағайын туысқанының алдында, жақын жуықтарының алдында. Оған міндетті түрде ақша түсетін еді. Бұл бет ашқанда берілетін садақа. Сондықтан бұл садақаны міндетті түрде бет ашқан ақын алатын еді.
Rightfully, Kazakhs say that a girl is only a guest in the house. After the girl marries away, she becomes a member of another family. Now she is the guardian of the hearth of her own family. But Bitashar strives to explain this transition to all the parties. Covering the bride's face and opening it in front of her new family is a coveted way of making the transfer official. Besides the social context, the tradition has a very deep spiritual meaning. The bride is cleansed off the negative influences in the process.
келіннің бетіне орамалды неге жабады? Беташардың кезінде. Өзі 90 ауыз сөздің тобықтай түйіні осы жерден болса керек.
Why is the bride's face covered during Bitashar? Many a reason exists in the folk, but my take at it revolves around the tribal approach to everything. To be exact, dictated by the limited number of the tribes that existed when the traditions were acquired. What we call traditions right now might very well have been a certain protocol followed in the interactions between two different tribes. The protocol ruled the way successful and unsuccessful communications happened. None of the traditions were invented for the sake of invention.
Қазақ соншама салт рәсімдер жасағанда, бұл ерігіп жасаған жоқ. Сондықтан мына келіннің бетіне орамал жабу, сол жаңағы рәсми өлім процесін іске асырады.
The symbolical death of the bride serves exactly one purpose. Being a representative of one tribe, she now migrates into another one and has to die for her paternal tribe to be reborn in the new one. According to the old world view, each tribe is a microcosm of its own that contains its own good and bad traits, good and bad karma. All of this has to go before a living member of the family joins the new crowd. She must come clean of the ancestral baggage and fortunes. That's why she is symbolically deemed dead.
Ізгі дүниелер болуы мүмкін. Сол бір рудың бойындағы жақсы жаман қасиеттерді екінші рудың бойына өткізбеуге тырысқан біздің ата-бабаларымыз. Сол үшін келіннің бетіне орамал жабылады.
Ағайын туғандар, енді мені тыңдаңдар, бермендірек тұрыңдар, тойдан алыс тұрмаңдар, қуантайын қауымды, әнге бөлеп ауылды, таныстырып өтейін ағайын мен бауырды. Келінжан, ата-ананы аялап, ардақтауға келінжан, дала безіп, үй кезіп, қаңбақ болма келінжан.
30 күн ойын, 40 күн тойын жасау арқылы өзінің оң жағында отырған шаңырағында келін рухани тазару керек.
In the process of a 40-day-long ritual, the bride is cleansed of all the baggage. Seated in the yurt to the right from the entrance, the bride rids of the emotional, mental, and physical trails from her paternal family. The transition from one cosmos of a family to another must happen in a completely clean, clear state. Sticking to this ritual of cleansing allowed our ancestors to manage to produce a healthy nation. One proverb says, "Off the new bride's souls, off the shepherd's pole." What does it want to say? Taking in a woman who is already pregnant was looked upon with fear and even horror. Getting pregnant before the necessary cleansing meant the newborn will carry the maternal's family's sins and weaknesses. I do believe that these notions have a scientific backup and that us going back to these will only bring goodness to our nation and the future generations.
Болашақта өзінің ұрпағына үлгі ретінде осындай дүниелерді сақтап отырса, нұр үстіне нұр болады ғой деп ойлаймын.
There was a reason every tradition developed and took a serious place in our reality. All of them have very interesting and meaningful practical purposes, each being a crystallized piece of wisdom collected by generations of people before us. So much so, they have become our true treasure and are ought to be protected and passed on to our children. Shall we not fight against the scared, but live it, teach it, and propel it to the future?
Келіннің сәлем салуы, бұл мына өзінің келген жұртына жасалған құрметі. Екіншіден, келіннің бетін домбырамен ашты. Домбыра табылмаған жерде қамшымен ашты.
The bride bowing in front of the audience is a sign of the deepest respect to her new family. The bride's face opened with the dombra's fingerboard. If the dombra is missing, the whip is used instead. Using a whip carries yet another meaning and adds a new aspect to the tradition of betashar. The person who holds the whip affects the resulting prediction of the bride's future life in her family. For some reason, allowing young men their 25 to 26 years became common practice, and it is wrong. You must know that the phases of maturity are conducted in the cycles of 12 years, mushals. Only the people who are one cycle younger or older are allowed to open the face. The peers, young men, are believed to adversely affect the bride's energy. In this manner, the groom's young brothers get to uncover the bride's face. This matter settled, why is the shawl tied to the whip? What meaning does this carry? Well, here the historical use of the whip by the mighty Batirs comes into play.
Қамшы бір заманда барымташы батырлардың қолына ұстаған бұл қаруы.
Needless to say that betashar was a big event back in the days. A lot of preparation went into organizing one. Sheep were slaughtered and boiled in huge cauldrons. To appreciate the sisters-in-law that helped the new bride navigate the happening, a big kongasi with games and puzzles are put together. The games and swings that gather younger people are all to celebrate the new acquisition.
Келін түскен үй беташардың алдында тойға не соятын еді? Қазір сиыр сойып жүр, жылқы сойып жүр шамасы келгендер.
What animal is slaughtered before the betashar carries a certain meaning as well. Now we slaughter cows. The more affluent families slaughter a whole horse. Those who can't afford to buy the big animals slaughter goats. All this, however, doesn't cover the main requirement to slaughter a ram. The family should strive hard to get one. What we put on the floor for the bride. Currently, people put carpet on the floor. Our ancient Kazakhs, our ancestors, kept this tradition. The tradition to spread sheepskin was replaced by regular carpets. However expensive these carpets can be, they don't follow the old requirement to put the bride on the piece of fresh wool. The relative nation of Nogai dwelling in the Caucasus nowadays strove hard to preserve this tradition. Hung on the wall together with the sheep wool during the labor, a whip represents a boy born to the new bride. This whip is then presented to the childless families or families with girls dreaming to have boys.
Bir перзентсіз адам келетін болса, оның ішінде ұлаңсаған адам келетін болса, осы қамшыны сыйға тарту үрдісі бар.
The essence of all Kazakh traditions goes back to the free-spirited life in the vast steppe. They embraced the nomadic lifestyle, were neatly picked and polished to serve our ancestors' needs. Engraved in our identity, these traditions are the indispensable element of our history. Starting from the very first holiday of Bisik Toy to the major as, meals, and household traditions, they celebrate the cycle of life, complementing each other.
Осы келіннің бетіне жабылатын орамал жаулықтың түсі қандай болу керек деп жатсыз ғой. Қолдан келсе, бұл ақ жаулық болу керек. Өйткені ақтың өзі кіршіксіз тазалықтың.
How about choosing the color of the shawl that is used to cover the bride's face? Generally, the white color is used. White is always associated with purity and light. The shawl also has to be brand new, never used or touched by anybody. The shawl's corner, tied to the fingerboard of the musical instrument, was used to lightly lift the shawl and inaugurate the new family member. While every bride goes through this ritual, it still is a very responsible moment for each of them. I would like to tell something to my peers who live in the modern Kazakhstan. Please avoid having the betashar in the public places like restaurants. It should be done at our future house where she will build a new family. Restaurants are good for receptions. The ritual of stepping over the threshold with the right leg, bowing to the pedestal of the house, are tightly connected and should be held at home. The idea that betashar could be held anywhere else was unacceptable back in the days.
Тойханаға барып той жасауға болады. Өйткені жаңағы келін оның босаға аттауы, шаңырақ деген ұғымдардың барлығы тұтас. Сондықтан бұл рәсімдердің өзі келіннің түскен отауында жасалу керек. Бұрынғы қазақ солай жасаған.